What's up, guys, and welcome back to the garage. Today we've got another great video for you guys. Also another sponsored video. As you can tell, we got Go Recon merch on. What we're going to be doing is some rock lights for the Jeep. So they sent over 2 sets of 4 rock lights for me. And you can get these guys on the Recon website. Use code HGINSTALL for 20% off these and anything else on the website. If you guys are interested. So without further ado, let's kind of go through what comes in the box. This is the first set of the rock lights. Model number here is 264515WH. I got 2 of these guys, 1600 lumens for 4. So I've got 8 in total. That should be 3200 lumens in total, which is about equivalent to the pod lights that I put on the front of the Jeep there. So once you get this box open, you end up with a box like this. It comes directly inside it. Open this guy up, and I've already kind of dug into this. I'll bring you guys over and we'll take a look at what directly comes in the package. Okay, I thought I'd bring you guys over and just kind of show you everything that comes with this. Now, it does give you quite a lot in terms of connectors. You got some waterproof connectors here, some pins. The pins would go on the sort of rock light wire, the rock lights themselves. But for purposes today, I'm not going to be using any of these connectors that comes with it. I don't even think I'm going to be using these screws. It's got 8 screws, I believe, that come with the kit, 2 for each rock light. That would allow you to potentially screw it to your wheel well, depending on your application. We'll get to the wiring harness in a moment. The rock light itself, I'm actually fairly impressed with. It has this back here, and you can see it's quite glossy. This is like an epoxy resin that has sealed off the back plate here. The front is fairly heavy duty. This is it has some weight to it. If you wanted to use the screws, they would go in here. I think I might just be using the back here, cleaning it off with some alcohol, and doing what I did for my truck, and using some very sticky 3M double-sided tape, Gorilla tape, which, if you're interested, it looks like this. It's fairly thick and has done a fantastic job of holding my rock lights onto my truck for a little over a year, and they're not going anywhere. So I'm probably going to be doing the same. If you're interested in mounting these at different angles, there are 2 different sort of rubber plastic brackets that you can choose from. This is an angled bracket where you can mount it to your wheel well at an angle to have the light shoot outwards. If you want it to shoot straight down, there's another rubber bracket you can have. This is designed in a way where you can set the rock light in here and have the cable go through the hole at the bottom, pull the cable through, and have it set into this mount like so. Now, with that in mind, I'm just going to be taping these directly to the wheel well. Now, moving on to this nest here, it comes nicely balled up, but I've kind of gone through it just to see what we actually have here. Once you get it all open, it's not actually that intimidating if you've never looked at something like this before. Now, this is the connector that comes with the kit. I just slipped it on here. The other the other 3, they just come with pins. Now, I'm going to choose not to use any of these. The reason being is the Jeep comes with aux switches. It's got its own built-in relay. I'm not going to be needing this switch that it comes with here. It's a little rocker switch. I'm going to be cutting that out. I'm also not going to be needing this relay, so cutting this out. But, if your Jeep doesn't have anything, it has all the wiring you need to get everything going. So this sort of sleeving is good in terms of keeping the wires protected. I don't think this has any kind of like anti heat properties or any ability to withstand some high temperatures, but yeah, it looks like it's 105 Celsius, so about 210 or so degrees Fahrenheit, which is decent, but not nothing where you'd want to run it by your exhaust or anything like that. So when you are running this, do be careful. You keep it away from things that are, hot. But other than that, this should be more than sufficient to protect the wiring from debris on the road. With that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and untangle this the rest of the way and start clipping off the runs of wire that I will need, and then start laying it out under the Jeep to get everything kind of put where I need it to be. The rock lights themselves, I'm going to be attaching the lead from the rock light to the run of cable from the harness and then slipping it through the wheel well, rather than I'm going to try and do this without taking the wheel well liners out. It'll be a little bit easier, hopefully, than when I did it on my truck. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead, set up over by the Jeep, and come back with you when I'm ready to start connecting these guys to the harness. Okay, we're over by the Jeep now. I thought the first thing I'd do was show you what I've done here so far, and that is mark out where I want the lights to go and then clean off the wheel well liner with alcohol. So rub this down very, very well several times until the rag that you're using stops, pulling dirt with it. Change rags as you need to, just to keep the rags fresh. This is where I'm going to be drilling the hole for the light for the rear rock light in this wheel well. Out to the front, you can see I've marked out this area as well. For that wire, the rock light will fit nicely here. Similarly, the back, this rock light will fit nicely here. Now I've done that for all four already. In the rear, you'll see I've decided to put the lights in this channel longitudinally, I suppose, as opposed to horizontally. The cable is going to be going through that hole there, and then mark out, so this will be the back edge of the light. This is where the hole's going to go. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is getting these lights ready to run. Now, this lead is not long enough for me to simply feed it through the wheel well liner and then grab it. So what I need to do is extend the wire. What I'm going to be doing is taking the wire from the wiring harness that I clipped off at this end near the relay. Like I said, I'm not going to be using the wiring harness in its entirety. I am going to be using the wires, just in a different fashion. So this lead is for one light, this lead is for another light. Now I'm going to be having 8 lights instead of 4, so I got to run 2 lights off of one wheel well. Instead of running 4 cables, essentially, this is a bundle of 2, this is a bundle of 2, positive and negative, positive and negative. Instead of running 4 cables, I'm going to be running 1 cable to that wheel well, at which point I will tie in both lights to these terminals. So I'll have 2 positive cables going to this red one, 2 negative cables going to this black one, 1 for each wheel well light. So this will kind of cut down on the cable run. The reason I'm going to do that is because it's a low amperage light and these cables can't handle it. So shouldn't be an issue. I've done the same on my truck, run it for over a year, no problems there. So that's what I'm going to be doing to try and minimize the amount of cable I have to run, as well as get a ton of extra length. Since I'm not going to be using this cable to run a second light, I will be able to use it to go all the way across the engine bay. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of cut this up as I need to, and connect one end to one light, another end to another light, bring them together just in front of this, run one cable all the way up to the front. So I will get started on that and bring you back once I've got something to show you. Okay, I am back over on the driver's side in the back of the vehicle. Starting to drill the holes now. I've gotten 4 of the 8 rock lights wired, basically extended on the wiring harness. Took a break from that, decided to come over and drill the holes for all 8 of these guys. I'm going to be starting this hole with a 7/64 pilot bit and then going to a 1/4 inch full size. Now I'm also going to be using my ratchet spanner simply because I haven't taken these tires off and I don't want to. It's just a lot more work. So because of that, there's less clearance. Can't quite get the drill in here. So ratchet spanner, a few adapters, and some drill bits should get this job done nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and speed through this for you. Okay, you can kind of see that hole now drilled out full size. The next thing to do is literally just fish the wires through here. So I'm going to go ahead and drill out the other 8 holes in the car, and then come back and fish this wire through and around. Okay, I thought I'd bring you guys back. I've got both rock lights for this wheel run. They're not attached, they're just run. The cable's pulled tight. I've chopped the cables here, and I'm making a connection to just one of the 2 cables. That way we can have a lot of extra cable left over if we need it for anything. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these 2 and I'm combining them into one. I've already done the positive side, taking the 2 reds, brought them down into one. Essentially it just involves taking a slightly larger connector, same kind that I've been using all day, and running it onto these 2 negative wires, or ground wires rather. And doing this side first is fairly helpful because of the thickness of the 2 connectors. It tends to hold itself in place. Now if you'll notice, I've got a black heat shrink here and a larger black heat shrink here. I slip those on obviously before you go to make any of these connections. When you do go to start connecting these 2, make sure you're lined up, and then just shrink it down. And then when you're ready, go ahead and grab the, I guess when this is cooled off, go ahead and grab the other negative terminal, and we're going to slip that in here. Okay, so now this is cooled down a little, I'm going to go ahead and slip the other end into a connector. There we go. Go ahead and shrink the casing around it. Okay, once that's cooled off, we've now got our 2 runs of cable condensed down into one. So I'm going to go ahead and slip the larger heat shrink over these guys as far as we can go, like right around there, and then shrink this down. Okay, so now that takes care of our 2-to-1 reduction, and now we have a lot more cable to run from here to the front of the vehicle up into the battery area, where we're going to make our one other connection to the other side. So essentially what we're going to do is take these 2, this one over to the front, and then combine this with the 2 lights from the front, and then do the same on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead, finish up this wiring, and then bring you back when I show you what it's going to look like when we go to stick the lights to the wheel wells. Okay, so we are essentially ready now to stick this guy to the wheel well. I didn't show this particular light, but essentially you just cut the tape to fit. Any excess you just trim with some scissors. You can kind of see the tape on there. So the very first step before we go to put it on the wheel well is to hit the wheel well again with some alcohol, and just make sure we've got all of our fingerprints off of there and any kind of residue from when we were using the drill off of there. Let that dry. And there is a faint line here, which is where I'm going to line this up. It's going to be right about there. I'm going to go ahead and peel off all of the backing. Yeah, it is now ready to apply. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up. And then once you've got it lined up and pressed down, hold it in place for a good 30 seconds. Okay. So that is one rock light attached. Now, like I said, I've done the exact same attachment method on my truck, and they haven't gone anywhere over the last year. And I've driven through snow. I've driven, in a lot of rain, sandy roads, dirty roads, had pressure washers in there, and it hasn't been an issue. If you feel like you want a little more security, you can always use the screws that come with the kit. That said, if it does come off, it is still attached with the cable, so it's not like it's going to go anywhere. It'll just hang down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything else done and meet back up with you once we are in the sort of the hood area, attaching everything to the battery. Hey guys, it's been a long day. Pretty straightforward stuff really. Just drill the holes, clean off the lights, attach the tape, stick them to the wheel wells, run the cable. Nothing, that's overly complicated, just a lot of patience needed for a lot of connections. So I thought I'd come back and meet up with you for running this guy. I've already got that one sat in place. That's the easiest one in the whole car, just because you run it maybe 8 inches vertically. This one, if your Jeep is like my Jeep, and it's maybe a 4xe, it's gonna have a lot of crap in the way here, a lot of stuff in the way over by the charge port, but in terms of where and how I'm running this, I'm gonna go ahead and bring you guys up just so you can see what I've done and maybe copy what I've done in terms of how you want to maybe snake some of these cables if you're doing this yourself at home. Okay, so first thing I wanted to point out was there is a 10mm bolt. If you back that out, you'll have a lot more room to drop this down and play in here. Once you feed the cable all the way through, just bring it down, drop it down, and leave it down on the ground. Use a wire coat hanger or something similar, and use a wire coat hanger. And what I did was got up under here and ran it kind of up towards daylight up in there. And if we come up to the top, you'll see it somehow pokes through from over there, winds underneath this guy, below there, and over towards these aux switches that we're going to tie into. So this is what I'm going to be pulling on to go fishing here. Now, what I found was using a heat shrink to attach the hanger to the wire is a really easy way to get a very secure connection here. So that's what I'm going to do instead of tape. I found that tape tends to not quite be strong enough. So I'm going to go ahead, pull that wire all the way through, make the final connections. I'm going to take this wire, which takes all 4 lights on the driver's side, reduces them down to this one, brings them here, and then I've got these two. This is the rear passenger side. This is one of the front passenger side front ones, and the other one is down here. I'm going to take this one and this one, reduce them together, this one and that one, reduce it together, and then do a 2-into-1 aux switch. So I'll come back once I've got all that done, just kind of walk you through how it looks, and then obviously back it outside and give it a test. Okay guys, as promised, I am back here with everything buttoned up. Go ahead and zoom out for you. There we go. I've got everything from the driver's side, both lights in the rear, both lights up front, reduced down to one cable. Brought that over here. So I've got the lights coming up from the front, I guess the passenger side on the front here, and here they get reduced into one, and then in this mess here, everything comes together. So I've got one cable, and they come out into one final attachment. Now, I connected this to the, I think it's aux switch 4. It's the 15 amp, the remaining 15 amp fuse. I wired these guys, these two pod lights, to my 15 amp button 3, I believe. This guy's on button 2, which is I want to say like 40 amp, but don't quote me on that. These these rock lights, it's been a long day guys, don't blame me. These rock lights I think are only like 1.25 amps of set. So at, I think it was 15 watts or 1600 lumens, it's very, very little. So I put them on the smaller of the two options. Got everything tied in here. The aux switch is here, ground is here. So all that's left to do now is test it. All right guys, we are in the Jeep moment of truth time. If you haven't already seen the install, go ahead and take a look. Check out the light bar video I did there, and the pod lights there. But let's go ahead and see if these, I haven't done this myself yet, so hopefully, fingers crossed, I know what I'm doing and this will work. Turn this on aux 4. I see some lights, let's take a look. Ooh. Those are actually fairly bright. I don't know if they're brighter than my truck. And I think on camera it's coming out a little bit yellower than it is in person. It's a pretty bright white light. It matches the headlights really nicely. I am pleased. Let's take a look at the other side. Oh yeah, okay. So all 8 are working, it looks like. Let's take a look at the back driver's side. Make sure those are working. Yeah, these are all working. I couldn't be happier. This was a long day. Rock lights always are kind of frustrating. They're always longer than they should be, or than you think they should be, just because there's so many connections to make. But once they're made, it is really satisfying. All right, guys, it has been a long day, but well worth it. I am probably visibly tired, but these lights from Recon Truck Accessories, go Recon, they're very impressive. The light output is just as good, if not maybe even a little bit better, or at least a little bit more clear than the Lux rock lights on my truck. The harness, impressive. I did not need, I'd say, half of it, just because I've already got the aux switches built in. But the cables that came with it are quality cables. The sheathing is, I'll say, average. It's certainly great to have it. And I think maybe it could have been better if it wasn't such of a easily crumpled sheathing. But other than that, it was really nice to work with. The cabling all came together nicely, crimped very well. So from that perspective, great to install. If you enjoyed this video, thought it was helpful, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and as always, stay tuned for more.